Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Grossa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada, and frigid Ontario, Canada. It is so cold here today. And today I am all about sharing the love. So we are working on Valentines projects today using the Sweet Talk suite from the new January-June mini catalog. Now this suite is so cute and fun. So many possibilities with it. One of my favorite things about it is that the paper is not just pink and red. And it's, yes, there's lots of hearts. I'm going to admit that. But we have some other color combos that kind of make this a little bit more versatile and make it a little bit more appropriate maybe for some of the men in our lives. So I am loving this suite. I'm going to show you all the products in the suite, and then we're going to make 3 cards today, including a really fun fold. It's one that I just learned and I think it's so cool. So I'm going to show it to you because honestly, I couldn't find a tutorial anywhere on the internet for it. So I just figured it out on my own and I thought I would do a tutorial here today. So I hope you guys are okay with that. So let me pull up my video here on my iPad and see who is joining me. Let's see who's here. We've got Carrie and Linda and Debbie. Hi, Krista. Thanks for joining me today on this frosty day. Hey, Tracy. Oh, you made it home in time. That's awesome. Hi, Claire. Welcome. All right, so enough chit chat. We're going to get right to it. I'm going to flip the camera and show you some product, and then we're going to do some stamping. Okay, give me a minute. Oh, I just noticed my light is in the way. We're going to move that so it doesn't block our view. There we go. That's better. Let's make sure that's nice and secure. There we go. I'm going to slide this over so it's a little more centered. All right. That looks good. Hi, Julie. Thanks for joining me. Hi, Shaz. Hi, Sue. All right. So this adorable suite is the very first one in the January-June mini catalog. So you'll find it literally on page 8. It's the first suite that's displayed. And there are so many fun products in this suite. I'm going to show you most of them, and then we're going to get to it. So of course, in any suite, we start with the bundle, right? That is sort of the focal point of our suite. So we have the adorable Sweet Conversation stamp set and coordinating Sweethearts dies. Now these are designed to work together. Okay, we get some cute little heart frames. These are great for cutting windows in boxes and shaker cards, and then a really fun stamp set, which is all sort of focused around conversation hearts, which was one of my very favorite things when I was a kid to get for Valentine's Day. So we have the bundle. And then we have a fabulous new embossing folder called Gingham. Now I've actually embossed a piece of cardstock here so you can see what it looks like embossed. We're actually going to use this embossing folder on our first card. So that's the Gingham 3D embossing folder. Is it 3D? No, it's not. It's just a regular embossing folder. Embellishments wise, we have this yummy faux linen ribbon. Love this. It's making me feel a little bit better about the real red sheer ribbon retiring that was in the holiday mini. Love this ribbon. It ties up quite nicely. It's the same width as the sheer ribbon was, so it's a good substitute. So we have the coordinating ribbon, and then I don't have a full sheet of these left anymore because I've used so many of them, but we have these awesome iridescent rhinestones, which we are going to be using on our projects today as well. So they come in 3 sizes. We have the large, the medium, and the small. And this is not even close to all that come in the pack. I'll just say that. I've used quite a few. And then we have the fun DSP. So we have lots of hearts and candy. So conversation hearts patterns, some lollipops. Love this with all the candy. I actually fussy cut a bunch of the candy out to make a shaker card. We've got more hearts. We've got colorful hearts. We're going to use this pattern today. And then we have, I'm thinking these are boxes of conversation hearts. They remind me, or either that or the candy cigarettes that we used to get when we were kids. And then of course on the back side, we have slightly more subtle patterns. So we've got some hearts with, I love the addition of the Highland Heather in this suite because it just adds such a nice contrast to the pink and the red. Some awesome Highland Heather stripes. We've got multicolored stripes. I'm loving the addition of the Bermuda Bay and the Green Apple Green. Love this wash. We're going to use this on our first card. This reminds me of strawberries. Like it looks like the seeds in strawberries. I don't know why my brain goes there, but that's what I think of when I see that. And then we have a sheet that has I love you in all sorts of different languages. So just a great DSP pack for lots and lots of Valentine's projects. So let me just set some things aside here. We're going to bring in our first card. So the first one we're going to make is this one. I posted this yesterday. Just a fun little Luv U card. Nothing terribly difficult. So we're going to actually start by stamping our background. So this white piece is actually stamped. It's not DSP. So I'm starting with a piece of basic white cardstock. It's 3 by 4 inches. And I'm going to bring in my Hugs and Kisses stamp and my Blushing Bride ink pad. So I'm going to start just in the bottom corner. Now you could totally do this with the Stamparatus. You're going to have more space between your X's and O's. I didn't really want that. I actually wanted them to be closer together. So I just eyeballed it and I used my grid paper. Why is this not stamping? Oh, you know why? Because it's the wrong color. I grabbed the wrong color. I've got Petal Pink. That's not what I need. I need Blushing Bride. There we go. This is what happens when they're right next to each other on my ink rack. Let's just stamp that off, flip it over, and try again with the right color this time. All right, Blushing Bride to the rescue. Let's get that on nice and straight. And whenever I'm doing a repeating pattern like this, I like to just start off the edge with the first image, just again because it makes it look like it's cut from a larger sheet. Right? So it's a larger pattern that you've just cut a piece from. I don't want all of my rows to match up and be exactly the same. So I kind of like that offset look. So again, I'm going to move this over a little bit and just kind of keep them not so matchy-matchy. I'm attempting to get this straight. It is not easy to do when I can't look straight down on my cardstock. So if it's a little cockeyed, you'll have to bear with me. Show me a little grace here. We'll add that one. There we go. Okay, there is our stamped background. Super easy. And you could totally do this random as well. If you didn't want, or were worried about trying to get them straight, you could just totally stamp them randomly and you would get a really good, really cool look as well. All right, so I have here a piece of the Sweet Talk DSP. This is the pattern. It's got all the fun candy on the one side, and it's got this Blushing Bride sort of wash on the back. And I've run it through with the gingham embossing folder, and I just love that little bit of texture that it adds. So we are going to layer our stamped panel along with just a piece of basic gray. Now, when I first was designing this card, I actually originally, not basic gray, this is Smoky Slate, I apologize. I originally was going to have them nice and straight and layered like that. And then the more I played with it, the more I kind of liked the idea of having it sort of cockeyed and be just a little bit off. You can totally do it straight if you are someone who likes symmetry and likes things to be straight and aligned. You can totally do that. It works both ways. Whoop, don't stick there yet. All right, so we are going, my hands are freezing. If you're wondering why I seem to be like totally inept today, I mentioned earlier that it is very cold here in Southern Ontario, and the office at school that I work in it's basically unheated. It is freezing. So I've been freezing cold all day. I wore an extra warm, cozy sweater, to try and give myself a little extra insulation. But I'm still freezing. So I really haven't yet warmed up from coming home from work. So, all right, so we're going to put this on. Now we're going to put this on straight. Okay. So I did my Smoky Slate layer a little bit cockeyed. I don't know if I mentioned the dimensions. This is 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. Okay. This was 3 by 4. My background piece is 4 by 5 1/4. Okay. All right. So we are going to attempt to put this on straight. Now, the cool thing about this is because I have that sort of cockeyed gray one in the background, if this isn't perfectly straight, it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to be able to tell. All right. Oh, hi, Tamara. Hi, Louise. Hi, Jill. Thanks for joining me today. All right. Let me dump out all of my other little bits here. I'm going to try not to lose all of my little die cut hearts. So I have my card base and I also have a mat in Smoky Slate. So I mentioned this was 4 by 5 1/4. This one is 4 3/8 by 5 3/8. So when I layer it, you see I get just that narrow little border all the way around. That is my preference. I just really like narrow borders. I know many people don't like measuring 8ths. So that's totally fine. If you don't want to do a narrow border, that's totally cool. I just really like the look of them. So we're going to get that centered and hopefully relatively straight. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold my card base. So my card base is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. It's scored in the middle at 4 1/4. This is, oh, look at that. There's an iridescent rhinestone stuck to the back of my card base. Let's just pop that guy off there, and we're going to save him for later. I'll just set my take your pick there, and we'll use him in a minute. All right, so let's fold our card base in half and crisp it up. Hi, Joyce. Hi, Lois. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Penny. All right, so we're going to go ahead and glue our card front onto our card base. So again, a little bit of adhesive, and we'll pop this on. And again, I'm doing the old white on white thing. Why do I do this to myself? Like week after week, you'd think I would figure it out. Apparently not. It's a little learner. All right, now I have this adorable little die cut envelope. So this is cut using the Sweethearts dies. I've cut it from some Smoky Slate cardstock. So I'm going to fold in my flaps to make my little envelope, but I'm going to leave the top flap open. Okay, now you can see there are some sort of score marks here. There's it's sort of like, it's from my bottom cutting plate, which is really, really scarred. So I wanted to cover that up. So to do that, I cut just a partial envelope from some more of this DSP, and I'm just going to create a little envelope liner to cover up my yucky score lines. Now I'm going to cut the sort of base part at a bit of an angle so it slides in easily. So it's going to go in here and cover up sort of that yucky bit there. Okay, so we're going to glue that on. Isn't the envelope cute, Claire? I think it's my favorite thing about this die set. It's just so sweet. It's only, what, about 1 1/4 square. It's really teeny tiny, but it's just so adorable and makes a cute element. We're actually going to use it on the next card too because I love it so much. All right, so there's my little envelope liner. We are going to secure all of our flaps. So I'm going to add just a little bit of seal to each one. I don't really need to worry about being able to put anything in this envelope. We're not going to have to worry about that. So we're just going to stick all our flaps flat, and I'll just crisp that up with my bone folder. And there I have my sweet little envelope. Okay. Now we're going to embellish this a little bit with a bit of twine. So I needed to leave myself enough. Let's tie our bow first, and then we'll use what's left. Actually, you know what? Let's wrap it. We can wrap. We'll wrap and tie. All right, so here's a little tip. When you are wanting to wrap twine around an element and tie a bow, it can be really hard, right? Because it's such a teeny element and things keep moving. So one suggestion, or one thing that I do quite frequently, is I'll put a glue dot on the back of the element that I'm wrapping around. Okay, so I want to make sure I leave enough length to tie my bow on one end. I'm going to make sure I press that twine into my glue dot. And I'm just going to wrap around, and that glue dot is going to help that twine kind of stay in place. Then what I'm actually going to do, once I adjust this, is actually press the middle of the envelope, and it's going to kind of stay put while I tie my bow. Okay, so the hardest thing about tying around these little bitty elements is when they're flopping around, right? It's really hard to get the tension on your bow and get it to stay put. So this is just a little solution, except this doesn't want to stick, of course. It is a solution that works. You may need to add an extra glue dot, or you could even add a little bit of seal to the back. But that will help it to kind of stay put while you're tying your bow. And then it pops off really easily. And you can adjust your tails and your loops, and you're good to go. All right, so just trim that off, and there's our sweet little envelope. Isn't that cute? All right, now before we glue this on, we're going to add a few things. So I have, first of all, these little heart frames. These are die cut using the Sweethearts dies. I've added some adhesive sheets to the back to make them super quick and easy to glue down. And then when you cut this, of course, you get all kinds of little negative hearts, right? So we're going to use a couple of these to embellish our project as well. So let me set this aside. Okay, oh, we having issues? I know you shouldn't. Nope, you should be able to see me. I'm not sure what's happening there. Try refreshing the page. See if that helps. I'm not sure that you can hear me. That's my suggestion anyway. So we're gonna just stick our little heart frames on. Okay, just peeled my backing off, stuck that down. Then we're gonna add some cute little bitty hearts to our envelope. So they're gonna kind of be coming out of our envelope. So we'll tuck one just kind of inside a little bit. And then another one. This goes really quickly when you've got the adhesive sheets on the back, right? So it makes these little guys really quick and easy to adhere as well. And then this is going to go on with a couple of dimensionals on either side of our twine. Oh, your phone is better. Okay, that's interesting, Julie. All right, it's good now? Okay, Krista, I hope Ina has been able to join us. All right, so we're gonna pop this on. It's gonna go on just at a little bit of an angle. Again, just kind of cockeyed. I just like the look of that. And then we're gonna add one more little heart sort of floating up out of our envelope. Gonna do that one that way. Okay, and then we just need to stamp, and I'm actually gonna fussy cut this heart just because it's quicker than die cutting. Believe it or not, I think it's quicker. I know some people would beg to differ, but I just don't want to bother getting my die cutting machine out. Okay, so I have this little solid heart, so I'm going to stamp that one first. And then I have my little Love You that I'm going to stamp hopefully right over top. Again, very hard to see. That's not bad. I can live with that. I stamped these in real red. Okay. I know, isn't it fun, Tamara? These little envelopes are so sweet, and you can do all kinds of cute stuff with them. So I'm just gonna quick fussy cut this heart out. These are not difficult things to fussy cut. There are dies that coordinate with this. I just am lazy and don't want to pull out my die cutting machine. I do this a lot. I like to fussy cut, and sometimes I'm just too lazy to get out my machine. And at the moment, my mini cut and emboss is holding down my phone holder for this video so it doesn't tip over, because the added weight of my iPad with the iPad holder that my husband got me makes my stand a little bit top heavy, and it wants to topple over. So I'm currently using my mini cut and emboss as a counterweight. So there you go. That's behind the scenes with Lita. All right, so there's my cute little heart. We're gonna pop this on with a couple of mini dimensionals, and I'm actually gonna put them on my envelope so I kind of make sure I get them where I want them. So one's gonna go above the twine and one's gonna go below. So we'll peel those backings off, and we're just gonna kind of pop that on just like that, tucked in next to our little bow there. Okay, isn't that cute? And then we're gonna add some rhinestones. So I'm gonna add this large guy that was stuck to my, I didn't actually use a large one on my sample, but I'm gonna kind of tuck him in there so he doesn't look quite so overpowering. And then I'm gonna add a medium. Where are my mediums? There's a medium. Kind of have him coming up there, and one little bitty small one. Okay, isn't that fun? Now on the inside, I'll just quick show you what I did. I stamped the Happy Valentine's Day sentiment, and then there is a stamp that is 3 hearts in a row. So there's one that's a solid and one that's an outline. So I stamped both of those on the inside. Okay, so that is card number 1. Fun, easy, cute, done. I've got so many little hearts here. They're all kicking around everywhere. All right, let me just clean up a bit of my mess, and we'll look at card number 2. All right, card number 2 is this one. So I wanted to do something I could give to my 14-year-old son. All right, so it's not so easy to come up with designs for teenage boys. They're not so into pink. They're not so into cutesy. So I was trying to find something that would appeal to him and wouldn't, you know, oh, mom, like something, you know, embarrassing. So I thought this was a fun one because it's really not girly and it's not pink and red. So that's one of the things I love most about this designer series paper. The other thing is that it can do all the work on a card, because really the only stamping on this card is the sentiment. So let me show you what I did. Again, I got lots of little bits here that I don't want to lose, so we'll set those aside. So to start, I have a piece of the DSP. This one's a little bit smaller. It is 3 3/4 3 3/4 by 5. Okay, the back is the purple stripes, but I wanted the multicolored hearts. And then I have a piece, this was cut exactly the same size, but then I cut on the diagonal, I measured 3/4 of an inch and 3/4 of an inch. Okay, and that actually gives you 2 pieces. I used one on my sample and I've got another one here. So we're gonna glue that right over top in the corner, just like that. Thanks, Shaz, thanks so much. I'm glad you like it. Like I said, it is hard to come up with stuff for teen boys. And yet you still want to recognize them on Valentine's Day and make them feel special and let them know, remind them that you love them, even though they may not love you so much at times. All right, so there is our card front. Super simple, just some layered DSP patterns. We are going to add that to this is 3 7/8. Yes, 3 7/8 by 5 1/8 piece of real red cardstock. Again, there's my narrow layers. So we're going to layer that. And the reason that I did a slightly smaller card front this time is because I wanted the background, the card base, Bermuda Bay, to kind of be my main color. Again, because I'm giving this to a teenage boy and I didn't want too much pink. Okay, so there we go. There's our card front. Now we're going to add a little bit of ribbon just to cover up the seam there on the DSP. So I'm going to grab my glue dots. I'm going to add a glue dot to each end of the ribbon. So there's one and there's 2. And I'm just going to kind of lay that across the seam on a diagonal and just wrap the ends around the back and stick them. Okay, again, let's just add a little extra texture. You could certainly do cardstock instead of ribbon, but I just like that extra texture. Now I'm going to trim the just corner of this ribbon off so it doesn't peek out from behind. All right, so there's our card front. We're going to glue that onto our card base. So our card base is Bermuda Bay cardstock. I don't use this color as often as I should because I really love it. It's 4 1/4 by 11 inches, scored in the middle at 5 1/2. So I'm going to just crisp that up with my bone folder and add a bit of adhesive. And we're going to pop that on. Now I'm going to have a larger border, right? Because I started with a smaller card front. But by doing that, you get more of the Bermuda Bay. So it becomes sort of more of the focus. All right. Okay, so then we are going to put together 3 adorable little envelopes. Again, I pulled my color palette from the DSP. Okay, so when you are stuck for colors, pull out your DSP. You all know that the DSP, let me just grab a pack here, lists all the colors, right? So this one, Blushing Bride, Green Apple Green, Highland Heather, Petal Pink, Pool Party, Real Red, and So Saffron. Now, I read that. I didn't actually look at this. I just kind of eyeballed it, and I thought Bermuda Bay worked better than Pool Party. And I wanted a really bold, contrasting color. So that's why I went with Bermuda Bay. All right, but when you are stuck for a color scheme, pull out your DSP and use it, right? It is there. That's one of the reasons Stampin' Up! Gives you those colors, the colors listed, so you can figure out what works together. All right, so we are going to just assemble these envelopes. I'm just going to glue them all together. I'm not worried about keeping a flap open. We're just going to glue them all shut. So there's our Bermuda Bay. And then we'll bring in our Gorgeous Grape. Now again, Gorgeous Grape is not listed on the DSP pack, but the shadowing, like this looks like a watercolor wash, right, on this heart. And the shadowing has the Gorgeous Grape in it. So I wanted bold, strong colors on this card for my teen. This actually kind of reminds me of the colors his room used to be painted in. He was a huge Super Mario fan when he was younger. So his entire room, each wall was a different, like, bold, bright Super Mario color. So it was red and green and yellow. I can't remember what the other one was, but really, really bold, bright colors. It was a fun room. And then he grew up and he wanted to paint over it, which makes me sad, but that's what happens. All right, these guys don't want to stick shut. Need a little bit more adhesive. I'm rushing just a little here. There we go. All right, so we're going to just crisp those up with our bone folder to make sure they stay glued nice and flat. These are much easier to construct when you're using DSP because it's lighter weight, right? And then I wanted to add a little Sealed with a Kiss. So I have some little bitty die cut hearts, and I'm just, you know what, I can't do this with these glue dots because the glue dots are too big. These are my weird sort of end lots. I don't know, something wrong with my glue dots that I've had for quite some time, and I'm almost done the roll and I can't wait. So I'm just gonna, oh, this one actually has some what am I talking about? Adhesive sheets on it. So we'll just stick that down with that. Does this one? Nope. So we'll just add a little dab of glue and pop that on. Okay, and again, I wanted my hearts on the envelopes to echo the hearts on the DSP. Okay, that's kind of why I did that. All right, so we are gonna kind of just scatter our envelopes along the diagonal edge, or along the ribbon, I guess, if you want to think about it that way. I need to leave a little bit of a space because my sentiment is going to go across here. Okay, I didn't want to completely cover up my envelopes. So I am going to actually use a little bit of seal to stick these down. So we're just going to generously cover these in seal. And I would actually probably, I don't have Seal Plus over here, but Seal Plus would probably be the best choice for this because they're quite heavy, and you're going to want to make sure that they stay stuck. So put one there, and then we're going to add one down below. Come on. So I'm just kind of coating it with this seal and hoping that it stays put. Okay. All right, so that is that. Now we're going to work on our sentiment. So this is just a 3/4 inch wide scrap of basic white cardstock. I'm going to stamp my Happy Valentine's Day, and I'm going to stamp it in basic gray. You could certainly use black for this. I debated whether to use gray or black. Both would work. So I'm just going to stamp this centered on my little sentiment, or my little strip here. And then we're going to pull out our trusty Taylor Tag Punch. Okay, you probably see me use, I use this almost every week, to notch our ends. So we're going to slide this in and just punch off the end, and we get a cute little banner. Same thing on the other end. Okay, and then that is going to go just across the front of our card with some dimensionals. Oh, thank you, Diane. I appreciate that. I'm glad you like it. All right, so we're going to just add sort of 1, 2, and 3 dimensionals to the back of that. And we're going to pop this on. And again, because these lines on the stripes are not straight, if you don't get this on straight, it doesn't matter. Nobody will notice. Not like my 14-year-old's going to care anyway. All right. And then I have a cute little bow. I've already tied this. I don't know why I pre-tied it, but there you go. Maybe I had it laying around from something else. So we're going to just take a little glue booger here and press the knot of our bow into our glue dot, and then we're going to just tuck that onto the corner of our banner, just like that. Okay, now I couldn't resist adding just a teeny hint of bling, even though this is going to my son. I just took my Wink of Stella and added a little bit to the hearts on each envelope, just the subtlest little bit of shine, because it wouldn't be a card for me if it didn't sparkle a little. Okay. All right. Now on the inside of this, again, I just put another sentiment from the Sweet Conversation stamp set, and then some more little Wink of Stella die cut hearts. Okay. So again, another super quick and easy, but this one's a little bit more appropriate for non-female recipients. Let's put it that way. So that one was for my son. And then my last one I'm very excited about because I just figured out how to do this fun fold. So I had seen a project that somebody had posted using some Christmas products, and I looked high and low. They did not do a tutorial. I couldn't find one. I searched YouTube. I was like all over the place trying to find the tutorial. Couldn't find it. So I sat down and figured it out myself. And this is what I came up with. So this card folds flat for mailing, but when you open it, it is a little bit of a wow. It stands up and looks like that. So we have sort of these awnings, top and bottom. We have a flat panel at the front for our focal image, and then 2 side panels. All right. And then when you turn it around, the back is almost as cute as the front. So you kind of have this little sort of recessed panel, the little V's top and bottom, and then lots of space to write. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this. It is shockingly easy. All right, it only took me 2 tries to get this right when I figured it out. I wasted only 1 sheet of cardstock. I was quite proud of myself. All right, so you're going to need to start a piece of cardstock that is 5.5 by 8 inches. Okay, not 5.5 by 8.5. It's a ½ inch shorter. And having said that, let me just make sure I get my trimmer right set up. I'm just going to quickly measure this to make sure that I cut this the right length. Yes, I did. I didn't want to screw this up right from the get-go. All right, so it is 8 inches by 5.5. Okay. All right, so we are going to start by placing this into our trimmer. I'm going to put my scoring blade at the top and my cutting blade at the bottom, and that's just so that I don't mix them up. Okay, because there's some scoring and cutting and it kind of happens interchangeably. So we're going to start by putting, with the long side at the top, we're going to have our left edge at the 2-inch mark. And I'm going to score top to bottom. Okay, so I have a score line at 2 inches. Then I'm going to slide over to the 6-inch mark. So on our Stampin' Trimmer, it's right to the side where the ridge is. And again, I'm going to score top to bottom. Okay, so now I have 2 score lines, one here and one here. All right. All right. So then I'm going to rotate and I'm going to put my shorter side at the top. So this is the 5.5 inch side. And I like to use my right hand ruler here. So our Stampin' Trimmer has like obviously a full ruler on the left side, but it has an 1.5 inch ruler on the right. And I really like to use that when I'm doing these smaller measurements. You can do it either way. If you don't have the right hand ruler, you can totally measure this way, but I'm going to use the right hand ruler just because I find it easier to see where I'm going. So I'm going to take my right edge of my long side, and I'm going to put it in at 1.25 inches. Okay, now this is important. I'm going to cut between my score lines. Okay, so I'm putting it in at 1.25. Then I'm going to bring my cutting blade and I'm going to place it at the 2-inch mark, okay, which is where that first score line is. So I'm going to close my arm, I'm going to press my blade in so that it presses into the cardstock, and I'm going to cut down to 6 inches. And again, there is a ruler on the cutting arm, which makes this super easy. Okay, there's my cut. So now I can do one of 2 things. I can rotate this completely and cut it 1.25, or I can just back it off and do it on my left side. So I'll do it this way just to show how it works on both sides. So now I just finished at 6 inches, so my blade is still there. I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to press, and I'm going to go back up to 2 inches. Okay, so now I have a cut at 1.25 on each side. So far, so good. All right, that's all the cutting. So my cutting blade is going back to the bottom, and I'm going to pretend it doesn't exist because I don't want to make a cut that I don't want. All right, so now I'm going to rotate my cardstock again. I've got my 8-inch side at the top, and I'm going to put the left edge at the 3-inch mark. And this time I'm going to score between the cut lines. Okay, so again, my cut lines were at 1.25, so I'm going to start with my scoring blade at about 1.25. And again, it's really hard to see when I'm not looking straight down, but I'm going to score down to 4.25. Okay, then I'm going to slide over to 5 inches, and I'm going to do another score mark between the cut lines. So I'm going to start back at 1.25. It's just easier to see, and come down to that next cut line. Okay, now if you don't have a ruler on your cutting arm, you can just eyeball it by looking at the actual cuts on the cardstock. Okay, we're almost done. We have one more score line to do. So I'm going to slide over to the 4-inch mark. This is still with the long side at the top. And this time I'm going to score above and below the cut lines. So I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to score from the top down to the cut line. Okay, and then I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom, and I'm going to go from the bottom up to the bottom cut line. Okay, so what I'm left with is something that looks like this. And I'm going to just move this and hold it up. I'm going to hope that you can see these score lines. So we have 2 score lines here that go the full length. We have 2 that go inside the cut lines, and then we have 1 that goes above and below the cut lines. And then of course we have our 2 cuts. Okay, that's all there is to this. It's really that easy. Okay, now on my sample here, I did some heat embossing. So I stamped with my Hug and Kiss stamp in Versamark and heat embossed in white. Now I've already gone ahead and done that to save us some time. So there is, with the magic of television, there are my heat embossed X's and O's. And now I'm going to show you how to fold. Okay, you really do want to do, if you're going to do any heat embossing, you do want to do that before you do your folding. It's just easier. Okay, all right, so our two outermost score, the one that was at 2 and at 6, we are going to fold inwards. So I'm going to fold this guy in, and I'm going to fold this guy in. Okay, so now I kind of have a U shape. Then I'm going to take these two score lines that are on the inner panel, sort of that middle panel between the cut lines. I'm just going to kind of pinch them to form a mountain. Okay, so I'm not really folding them. I'm just kind of creasing them a little bit. Okay, so that I have a little bit of a mountain. And then my other two score lines that were above and below the cut line, I'm also going to make a mountain. So I've just kind of creased them. I haven't really burnished them. I'm just kind of giving them the idea of the way I want them to go. Okay. And now to make my card come together, I'm actually going to lay this flat on my work surface, and I'm going to push these two edges inwards till they meet. Okay, so now I've got those two folds, so they've kind of met in the middle. I'm going to press down my middle panel. The bottom little awning is going to go to the left, and the top one's going to go to the right. Once I have that done, then I can come back and burnish really well to make sure all my folds are nice and crisp. Okay, and I'm going to open this up. I'm actually going to fold these guys in, burnish them a bit more. You just want to make sure everything's really nice and crisp to make it easy to close your card. Okay, so that is it. Is that not an easy, fun fold? Like, I honestly thought this was going to be super complicated, but it's not too bad. So now we're going to decorate. So I've got all kinds of bits and bobs here. So to start, I'm going to add some DSP on my outer panels. These are 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so they're going to go right on there. I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive. Now, I do not have narrow borders on this one. I went with the 1/8 of an inch border. You certainly could. I wanted to keep it fairly simple and keep the measurements simple for this one, just because the fun fold is a little bit of a stepped up design. So we're just going to add our two panels to the outside and hopefully have them relatively even. And one way to check that, again, is to squeeze this in and just kind of look at your panels to make sure that they're lined up. Okay. On the inside panel, this sort of center or focal image panel, this piece is a 1 3/4 by 2 3/4. Okay, so it's going to glue on there. So we'll add a little bit of glue. And again, it's easiest to glue these guys down when you've got your card flat. In fact, I got a little bit hooked on making these, and I started I would just cut a whole bunch and then just layer a whole bunch of things before I even folded it all, because I wanted to kind of see what it all looked like. It was really fun to play with these. All right, so we are going to add a little tag. So our focal image here is just this little bitty tag from the Sweethearts dies. So to start, I'm going to stamp my sentiment. Let me set this aside. I'm going to stamp it in basic gray. Yeah, Louise, it really is. The first one is the hardest. Figuring it out took me a little bit of time, but honestly, I was surprised at how quickly it came together. So I'm going to stamp this so that my tag is cockeyed, but I want my sentiment to be straight. Okay, that's just sort of a thing. If I do a tag that's crooked, I want my sentiment to be able to still be read straight. It's just a thing that I have. Then I'm going to come in with, is it this guy? Yep. Or maybe I use this one. Which one did I use? I think I used the big one. I don't remember. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to come in with a little bit of Blushing Bride and my larger heart. And this time I'm going to stamp it. What did I do? Yeah, I did this straight too. Okay, so we're going to add this just like that. Okay. And then I'm going to add some little bitty individual hearts. Now, I'm using the 3 heart stamp, but I'm only going to stamp one at a time. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. I had Do Not Disturb on. I'm not sure why that call still came through. I hope I'm still live. Yep, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. A call came through on my phone while I was in the middle of my live. I know I turned on Do Not Disturb, so I'm not sure what's going on. So as I was saying, before we were so rudely interrupted, we have this little row of 3 hearts. So we have the solid and the outline. So I'm just stamping one at a time on my little tag there. And then I'm going to bring in some of my yummy ribbon and we're going to tie a bow. I'm glad I'm back, Louise. Yes, it was a phone call that interrupted. Even though I had do not disturb on, so I'm not sure what happened there. So I'm just going to tie my little bow here, play with my loops. I'm glad that didn't happen in the middle of like showing you all the cutting and scoring. That would have been a disaster. I would not have been happy. I'm going to have to check to see who called me. I thought everybody on the planet knew not to call me during Tuesdays at 5. All right, so let's just trim our tails there a little bit. That was not so tidy. I didn't bring my ribbon scissors over. There we go. That's better. And then we're going to add a little glue dot, one of my VIPs. I don't think I have any VIPs, actually. The only ones are my parents, and they don't call me midweek. They're always weekend phone calls because they tend to be longer ones. They know I'm busy during the week. All right, so there is my little tags. We're going to add that to the front of our card with a couple of dimensionals. So we will pop that on. And again, I want to make sure my sentiment is straight. Okay, my tag will be crooked. And then we're going to add some little rhinestones because I love these guys. So we'll pop 1 and 2 and 3. Okay. Oh, that guy needs to be on the DSP. I don't like him hanging off the DSP. There we go. All right, so there is our card front. Isn't that simple? Like so cute. Now I'll just show you, I'm not going to take the time to fully decorate the back because it's going to take forever. But I'll show you this. So these panels are the exact same size as these were. Okay, so the basic white is 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, you're right, Jill. Only the cool people know I'm live. And then this little guy, the white panel, is the same size as this one. So those are all the same dimensions. These little guys are 1 inch by 1 3/4. Okay, so I cut 4 of them from the DSP. You could certainly decorate the front awnings as well with DSP. In fact, I did that on a couple of alternate projects that I did. But there is your cute little fun fold. Isn't that fun? I love it. Now, I should mention this finished card size is 4 by 5.5. It's not a standard. It's a little bit smaller than a standard card size. The reason for that is when I was figuring this out, I was starting to get into really awkward like 8ths and 16ths measurements. And it was like, nope, we're just going to go with a 4-inch wide card rather than a 4 1/4. So that's the reason for that. But I hope you like that little fun fold. Now, before I let you go, I'm just going to show you a couple of other projects that you'll see posted on my social media this week. If you joined me for my live launch party last week, you saw me make this card using that cute little envelope. And then there's a coordinating little box. So this is the only part of the suite I didn't show you earlier. These cute little treat boxes, they're kind of the size of a deck of cards and are really quick and easy to put together. These would be awesome for kids to do for Valentine's Day. Here is that little shaker card that I mentioned. So I fussy cut a bunch of the candy from the DSP and made a cute little shaker card. And then this is a case of the catalog. So this is actually in the catalog, this design. I fussy cut a bunch of the hearts. Again, you don't have to fussy cut these. These are, they can be cut with the dies. I like to fussy cut. So there's a couple of additional samples. So let me bring in, so there's those, but let me bring in the projects for today one more time. Get all my stuff out of the way here. So we had 1, 2, and a fun fold. All right. Okay. Yeah, they are addictive, Louise. I will totally agree. Once you get the hang of this, they are very addictive. They're really fun. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me this week. I hope you enjoyed these projects, and I will see you next week for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.